We are back at William Carey Tradition Campus with Dr. Ben Burnett, President of William Carey. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And we love doing this show, and we appreciate the station airing the show and letting everybody on the coast know about their four-year university.
Well, and listen, that's what we're going to talk about right now. There are many options if you're looking for that education after high school. And so why does someone choose William Carey?
That's a great question, and I have two or three immediate answers of why we think young people, or those going back, not so young people, wanting to go back and choose higher education. It has to be flexible, and so our programs, just about all of our undergraduate programs can have a hybrid approach or an online approach, so it can fit into their regular schedule. They can also choose us because on the Gulf Coast you have this beautiful campus here at Tradition on Highway 67, only minutes away from wherever they are on the Gulf Coast, and we have such strong programs here on the Tradition campus. One of the reasons that people should choose William Carey, that most people would go, I wouldn't have thought of that, is affordability. Because you've got to be able to afford college education. There's a lot of debate about should we forgive student loans or not? And that's never going to be decided one way or another, I don't think, for public opinion. But our philosophy at William Carey is to not let students graduate with a lot of debt. And so our tuition is still very competitive. And when you combine the tuition, the fees, the room and board, everything together, we're on par with the state universities. So we are affordable, and we've got great scholarships, and we pay for undergraduate textbooks. And I don't know, I remember going to college a long time ago. I don't know if you do.
I definitely do.
Standing in the long, long line to get textbooks, and they weren't free.
Definitely not free.
So that, in today's terms, that saves $1,000 to $2,000 at least, especially if you're a nursing major. I mean, those textbooks are astronomical, and so the textbook rental is free. So the affordability package is a major reason you should choose William Carey University, and for that, we've been ranked #1 in the state last year for the state's best value. So out of all 15 public and private four-year universities and colleges, we're ranked #1 for best value. And the final reason, and maybe the most important reason people should choose us, because as a private university, we've maintained our Christian worldview focus. And so you don't have to be of a certain denomination to go to William Carey, and you don't even have to be a believer to go to William Carey. But we have our faculty, our staff, people that are surrounding our students, do it from a faith-based approach to take care of our students. So, and that's really the #1 thing that we can offer that a state institution. I'm a product of public education. I believe in public education. But having a private education through a Christian worldview is very important.
I was going to say, we mentioned before, as long as there are tests in school, there'll be prayer in school.
Absolutely.
Right? I can promise you that. That's a constant. But I think what you're doing differently here, being a faith-based program, is that you're not just educating students, you're pouring into them.
Right.
You're pouring in discipleship into these individuals. So
absolutely.
When you're releasing them with their education to the world, they're making a positive impact on a couple different levels.
Absolutely. And if you think about the things we were talking about off camera that I'm sure we'll get to, the number of educators that are going out, 77% of our education graduates are working in Mississippi schools. Some private schools, but mostly, 90% of children in Mississippi go to a public school. So the overwhelming majority of our graduates are going to teach in the public school. So coming through a Christian education, going into the public school world, or going into the private sector of business, and we're now graduating nearly 200 doctors a year. Beginning next year, it will be 200. And so taking all of these future doctors through, in that environment, the nursing graduates that we have that are going into rural health clinics, to impact them at the beginning and then sending them out to where Mississippi needs them is huge.
Well, let's dive into that. The niche.com rankings have come out, and you have quite a bit to be proud of.
We ranked up.
You really did. Let's talk about the School of Education first and foremost.
Yeah, when these rankings came out, I was certainly kind of giddy, but then my very next thought was, oh my gosh, we've got to keep that up for next year,
Sure.
But yeah, the School of Education ranked #1 in the state And there are some really terrific teacher education programs in Mississippi, not just at William Carey, but some really solid programs around the state. So to be ranked number one, there are 15 colleges and universities and 10 teacher prep programs. So that number one ranking is huge, especially since I'm the former Dean of Education. That means a lot to me for the School of Education to get that kind of ranking. And not just number one in the state, but number 11 nationally. I believe it was out of around 900 schools.
That's a big deal.
That's a very big deal.
To be such a small campus,
Right.
despite the fact that you have a couple of campuses,
Right.
to be such a small overall footprint, to be
Right.
11th out of 900 is
Yeah.
outrageous. That's huge.
And Mississippians, regardless of where they went to school or where they send their children to school or who they watch play sports, you know, Mississippians ought to be proud of that. And that's what we're trying to do, is make Mississippi proud, impact Mississippi. It's my home state. My wife and I both are native Mississippians, never lived a day outside of the state. So we want to give back.
You're number 3 in the state.
Number 3 in the state out of the 15 colleges and universities, which if anybody knows me, they know that I want to be number 1. It doesn't matter at everything. No matter what I'm doing, I want to be number 1. But to be number 3 out of 15 with the large public universities with state money, and again, I have no problem with not receiving state funds because we want to maintain that private Christian atmosphere. But Ole Miss was ranked number 1, Mississippi State number 2, and then William Carey University. So that should tell people that we're not just moving up in enrollment and in programs, but we're moving up in respectability in the state of Mississippi.
Well, and among your peers, among the Christian universities, you are at the top of the pack.
At the top of the pack. We also were ranked number 1 for small colleges, and ranked number 1 for Christian universities, ranked number 1 for private universities in the state. So a lot to be proud of from these latest rankings, for sure.
Absolutely. Listen, there's a lot to choose from here in the state. There's a lot to choose from nationally, right? So William Carey being in top 11 in the nation for education. We're talking about in the state, you're number 1 or you're number 3, depending on how you're looking at it. Definitely worth your money because it's financially, it's a bit easier here to go to school. There's alternate routes for being teachers. There's tuition reimbursement. So there are a lot of ways that you can really make your dollar stretch in terms of that education. So you see the information there at the bottom of your screen, phone number, website. Give them a call. They can answer any questions. If you're on the fence, William Carey, the place to be. Dr. Burnett, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.